law enforcement's in winter, and a lot of the county stuff's in winter, it's a lot of project. So they're, we did go through really small. It's just the stuff that they understand.
I'm not really back. I'm present.
You're near.
Yes.
Have you been outside and skied at all?
Huh?
Have you been outside and skied at all? Well, I mean, being back and being out in the heat, it just seems like it's another layer that adds to it.
Well, in buying a house, there's always something.
Oh, that's right, you did.
We don't have air conditioning, so the heat thing is not really a new thing.
I'd like to call the meeting for the Charter Township Comstock Park and Recreation for Monday, August 11th, 2025. In lieu of the situation, our chair is not reported in, so at the moment I will take over the reins and get our meeting started. Welcome, everybody. Everyone is present except for Teresa. And if we could get right into our approval of the agenda, or called order and approval of the agenda, sorry. Consent agenda starting.
Sure. If I could, can we move the Merrill Park River's Edge project to the first item under business items?
Absolutely.
All right. And then I'll also make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Are there any disagreements with that? I believe I would abstain from that vote, and we would see that motion carried. Next, we would have our, presentations at this point. Is that what?
Public comment now.
Or public comment?
We just did the approval of the agenda.
Sorry, my apology.
Nope.
Okay, yep. Public comments. If there's anyone that would like to speak or had any questions for the board, this would be the time. And we will move on then to the consent agenda. Good evening.
All right, I will move approval of the consent agenda consisting of the meeting minutes, the mercantile report, GL distribution report. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to name them separately. July 14th meeting minutes and July GL distribution report.
And it's with that vote I will abstain. Are there any disagreements to that? All in favor?
Aye.
Then the consent agenda is now approved. Now, if I could follow this correctly, we'll move on to presentations. Was anyone here in the presentations for this evening? Nope, okay, I apologize, I didn't know. And then moving right directly on to business agendas, and we will move up the Merrill Park River's Edge project to our visitor, Mike. Sorry, I don't know.
Nope, all good. Mike Preston with Prine and Newhoff. So we understand the village, sorry, been too many meetings this week, last week. Township is interested in applying for grants for the Merrill Park Improvements Project.
Yep. Oh, just before you start, Mike sent us a letter that wasn't in the agenda, and I put it all in front of you, detailing kind of what the project's about, but I'll let him go over it, sorry. I gave him your letter.
And so for grants for the Merrill Park Riverfront Project next April. As part of that project, no matter what you plan on doing, you're going to need to get an Eagle permit. And we're recommending doing some of that permit work ahead of the grant applications for a couple reasons. Number one, to kind of understand what's actually constructible, right? You have that existing kind of block, I don't know what you would call it, erosion protection. You're on the high velocity side of that river. We want to understand what's actually going to survive out there, right? I think we've talked previously about kind of doing like a both the rock and natural shoreline along there. We want to make sure that that's suitable. And you also want to understand what the state is going to let you do, right? They're going to have a lot of input when it comes to what you're doing to the riverfront there. And so their permit process is 2 steps. There's the, what do we call it? The pre-application meeting, and then the permit. And we're proposing to get you through that pre-application meeting. So that includes going out and surveying. We have some rental equipment. You kind of attach it to a kayak. We're surveying the river bottom, getting an idea of the shape of both the upland and bottom of the river, get a plan set in front of Eagle, and then meet on site with Eagle staff to review that. That way, you know what they're going to let you do. You can put a good grant application together that accurately captures the work that's going to be involved. So you're not, you don't get the grant and then realize 6 months later that you need an extra $100,000 or whatever. So that's what this proposal's for. Topographic survey, preparation of the preliminary plans, and then an application meeting, and then preparation of some preliminary cost estimates for the grant. We could be out there in a matter of weeks here for the survey, and then the pre-application meeting itself takes a little bit of time to schedule, so it would be kind of end of September, early October with Eagle. That gives you plenty of time before the spring deadline. I think it's April 1st for the grant you're specifically looking at. So if you have any questions, kind of breeze through that, but yeah.
Quick question, when we talk about riverfront restoration, that sounds great, not knowing exactly what that means.
Sure.
But in addition to that, can there be within that established process, the potential for like small areas for seating, small areas for fishing, et cetera?
Yep, absolutely. So all of that is kind of, I don't want to say minor because it's important for the project, but the big thing is going to be the material to replace the kind of the deteriorating blocks. So all of that is absolutely part of the application. We would recommend you doing part of the grant, what we'd look at when we put plans together. But for this specifically, we're kind of just interested in the actual material of the restored river bank.
Protected.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we had met with staff previously, I know kayak launches on there, access to the existing seatings on there, all of that would be part of your grant application. This specifically looks at the Eagle permit, right? The getting into the shoreline, the water, how you're gonna affect the river, all of that.
Any other questions?
I'll just follow up on what you were asking. So when we met with them before, we talked about the river, but then we also talked about the boat launch and getting the fire department involved, and is that acceptable for them getting a boat in there, the kayak launch, even the parking lot, the existing parking lot, we talk about all that stuff. So we want to obviously put in as much as we can to the grant and get as much paid for, but once that happens, obviously it'll come back, but.
There's not truly an accessible guideline for boat launch in that, right? I mean, 88 has no compliance direction for something like that wouldn't be applied, right?
That I don't know.
Yeah, for watercraft. I just thought of it from just 88
Yeah.
or, sidewalks or what have you.
Mm-hmm. We also mentioned adding that for whatever we do with the benches, adding that with the benches, the existing benches as well. Right now, I think there's a gap between the bench and the walkway, getting something out there. But
It's a pretty steep
Yeah.
dive there, so it's something we'd look at when you get to construction plans.
Not when the water fills up.
Right. Yeah, and I'll just follow up. If there's no other questions from him, you probably want to know how we're going to pay for it. So we do have $5,000 in the engineering budget already, and then the remaining $8,500, I talked to Katie about a couple of different accounts we could take it from, but we could just take it from contracted services. We're pretty well under budget for that for this time of year, so we could easily move it from that. And then if we needed the contracted services later, we could take it from other supplies, but I don't think we would end up needing it from contracted based on previous year's expenses. So it would be $5,000 existing from the engineering budget, which we haven't spent, and then $8,500 from contracted. That's how it would be paid for.
Yeah. Katie, have you thought of which grants you're going to go after? I know you got plenty of time, but.
No,
No? Okay.
to be honest with you, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just curious.
For information, is there any conceptual design that we can take a look at, a preliminary design to kind of zero in on what we're talking about here? Because I know that there's talk about reinforcing the shoreline front, moving the benches up. I had been focusing also on the launch area, but it would be good to have that, illustration to go off of.
Sure, I think it was, I remember it very well. It was in March, just a few weeks before I went on leave.
Okay.
Me, Brett, and Steve with the DDA met with a couple other people in the room, and we talked about the companion bench seating for ADA compliance. We talked about the privacy fence, putting that up between the park and the houses, and a few other things. So it's kind of been discussed, but I see now that it hasn't really been very well relayed to the rest of the board. So we can certainly put that together so you can see it.
Yeah, we don't have a concept yet because we spoke to Mike about it, but he recommended this first before any of that, I guess. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
like-
Getting the permit started and then working on the plans after.
Okay, also, what comes to mind is the muck layer that's also in the area as a result of the Morrow Dam issue. And so is that something that is worked into this? You'll survey it, but is it something that has to be dredged out?
That is the whole point of this pre-application
Yeah,
meeting, is to
okay.
discuss our options.
With
the
Eagle.
township's wishes, what Eagle will let you do. That's
Okay.
kind of all this stuff about benches and all that's kind of conceptual after the fact. We really need to understand what the state will allow you to do in terms of shaping that river's edge.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay.
I guess I would like to say that I do get a fair amount of calls about people calling about the boat launch and needing it to be improved. So I think the bare minimum is we should look at moving forward with this so we can at least get that piece done. Once we get to the conceptual part, maybe we don't include everything in the park because that's not in our budget for the time frame that we're talking about. But I think it is important to move forward with this so we can get a handle on the boat launch and the health of the river. And I think just that piece would go a long way.
Because as I understand it, it's a safety issue.
Yeah. And just, obviously, if you look at the cement, most of it's, not most of it, but a lot of it's caving in.
Yeah.
So eventually it's going to go away whether we like it or not. So the sooner the better. Right, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I do apologize, I was a little late, but the road is all blocked
Oh,
on this
yeah.
area with fire trucks and so
Oh,
on,
wow.
and they told me to turn around, so I had to
Okay, that's all right.
come the longer way, but I hope everybody's okay from the
Gotcha.
look of that.
All right. Do you want a motion on that? I would make one, if you'll allow me to. Unless there's any more
Oh,
questions?
proceed.
All right, I move we accept the proposal from Prine and Newhoff for a lump sum price of $13,500, with $8,500 moved from contracted services to the engineering line.
Are there any objections to the motion? No?
Did we get
None?
any other bids or anything on this, or
I'm sorry?
were there any other bids on this?
No.
Okay, no objections? The motion passed. Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
thank you. Okay, and thank you, Mark, for stepping in there.
We did move the Merrill River Edge to the top of the
Right,
agenda. Yeah.
right, I did notice that. Okay, then this brings us to the 2025 project list updates.
So I did get a request to update our list on the project, so it's kind of a 3-page to look at. I thought tonight it would just be something that you could look at, answer any questions tonight that we might have, and then at the next meeting, actually voting to move things forward or to hold off on stuff, take it off entirely those sorts of things. So if you got a chance to look through the list, if there's anything, any questions, any sort of thing that I could answer.
Okay, so is this about the same thing as what we were?
Nope, so that's on its own. You're still in the packet.
Okay, so these.
Oh, I'm sorry, I see what you're looking at.
Yeah, some things have been dropped off, or
So Judy is looking at a
list that we.
previous list that I have given out. So every time I kind of do this, the whole list, the whole look of it kind of gets updated based on what has been happening.
Two other ones.
Yep, so as I've done it, it's just gotten clearer for me,
Okay,
at least, hopefully for you. So the first, this list goes by park. So you're looking at the ADA recommendations are first, and then it looks like I put the parks in alphabetical order on your left. The next column is kind of description. The third column is a timeline of when I thought things would happen, and that might have been updated since your previous forms. And then the last column is our update on what has happened or what action needs to take place to move the project forward or stop it.
Okay, I do have a couple of
Yeah.
items. Way down on Robert Morris Park with the viewing swing and the grant, you have 11/2026, but, actually, we've moved pretty forward on that, have we not?
So for the grant, it's saying that I have to have, for grant guidelines, it has to be completed by 11/2026.
Oh.
So I would take that more as a note for myself than necessarily for you.
Okay, but we've, met with the representative and gotten a quote and kind of moving forward in 2025, so.
Right, so
So-
the next column over is our action, and tonight, the viewing bench is on the agenda for a vote to move it forward or not.
Okay, but do the dates match up as far as grant due and project complete? I'm a little confused about the,
So the grant was due December of last year, 2024. We received the grant in March at the MParks conference, and then for the grant stipulations, it has to be completed by November of next year.
okay,
Tonight, you'll have the updated quote for the ADA swing and all the costs that go into that project, and that's what we'll vote on, to whether we want to continue with that or stop it.
okay, so it's not something that would anticipate to start in the fall and be done?
I think when we were, it was decided that we would have the company pour the concrete slab this fall, and then we would install the swing in the spring of next year. We would have to purchase the swing this year,
Okay,
but then we wouldn't install until next year to kind of keep a winter's wear and tear on it.
okay, and then would the grant still apply to it, is what I'm saying? If it's-
I have the check. I have not cashed it yet. I asked them if I could still hold on to it, and they said I have until I think it was the end of October.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
For clarifying. And then the other thing, I wanted to double check, you have the county contract for Winkie, 2025 to 2029, but it's really a smaller timeframe, correct? From what I recall?
I thought we still signed the contract for the full 5 years.
All 5 years?
And then, unless I'm mistaken, I thought it's still one for 5 years. It had been an option that was kind of thrown out there that if we wanted to go to a yearly contract, we could. All of this is, we need to talk about what we want from Winkie, what we need to talk to with the county, and how that kind of partnership is going, especially when it comes down to some of the expenses that park needs. So I put it on here that needs to be discussed, because it's not something that has to happen this year or really even next year, but well before 2029 when it comes up for,
Okay, so it's the full 4 years or so?
yeah. So the idea is before 2029 comes up, we need to have a good idea on how we're going to update the lights, if we are happy with the agreement that we have under the contract, or what exactly we want to do. And I just want to keep it on our radar and not be, winter and of that year and have to scramble.
Okay. And then the last thing I have is just to add in here at some point, we have performance reviews coming up for positions in your department. And so we don't want to lose sight of those in
Sure.
preparation.
Can you send me the dates and names and the information for that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean, on this list for August, each month, what we're supposed to be doing. For August, it says, Park Board to do director review, and then,
But
CIP
the
just-
timing might be a little bit off on this one.
That one wouldn't have been updated because that would pertain to Danielle. She was hired
Later.
for that, and it's a yearly, not like every year in August. So for mine, I guess it would be, I don't know. That's You tell me, please.
What, November?
I think it was November.
okay, so like the
Yeah.
Cooper Park, the playground install, which on here said it was going to take place in May. And then, but now we're saying we have to decide what to do. So when would we be deciding that?
That's where we're answering questions now, and then at the next meeting, we're going to decide, do we want to continue to try to figure out a playground for that park?
Okay.
Or do we want to put it on hold, stop it altogether?
Okay.
So if you have questions specifically about that, then I can answer it tonight, so that next meeting, hopefully, we can kind of just go through the list,
Okay.
approve, decline, that sort of
Because I
thing.
mean, at one point, there seemed to be a place set in storage, but then you said that that was not going to work.
I don't think that's going to work. The size of the swing set is too big for what the layout has at the moment. So it's trying to look at, do we just buy a like smaller swing set and still put swings in there somehow? Or is it that we go a different route with a different sort of play structure? But it is something that it seems like the community is still wanting us to do.
So then the plan is that at the next meeting, we'll start talking about that, or at the next meeting, you'll come back with some options and then we make a decision?
Nope, the next meeting is you are voting to let me know whether or not you want me to put time into proposing something. So it could turn out where, yes, you would like me to bring back suggestions, or it could be, no, we do not want to, as an example, no, we do not want to pursue putting a playground at that park. So I don't spend time figuring out a playground option, and then that wasn't something that you'd want to do.
Yeah, well, there's a difference though between the playground option and the swing. And I thought we kind of narrowed it down to the swing, and then I wasn't sure if the entire, perimeter of the park was looked at, or you were just looking at where the old one used to be, so which has its limitations, so.
So that's where I feel like it's just taking a bunch of steps back. Do we want to try to put a playground, and I say playground, but is that a swing set, whatever the playground looks like? Is that something that we want to put at that park? If the answer is no, then I'll take it off the list, and I won't put time into looking for an option for that. If it is something that you want to pursue, and then maybe in the end, it's not something that we're able to do, but it is a goal that we would like to try to pursue, then I would be able to bring back options for, maybe it's a swing set, maybe it's a musical, I can't think of the words, what? I didn't hear what you said. Yes. Yes, just different options that we could put there with the layout of the park, because the gazebo really is in the most open area. Looking at where the parking is, are people gonna walk all the way to the far end of, the north end of the park, where that's probably where the most open area is, but it also has, it's the lowest point, so there's a lot of flooding there, and are people gonna wanna walk that far? So there's a lot to look at, but at the very minimum, is it something that you want to try to pursue to put a playground type structure back in that area?
Okay, it might be good to survey neighbors in that particular area, and also in view of the fact that up on Neal Street, we're putting in a big playground up there too, so.
And it sounds like people do know that that was our plan, but they're still wanting some sort of play structure at Cooper.
Okay. All right, okay.
So when something has no action, like for example, I'm just pulling up like signage and trail work at Jan Shaw, River Street meeting, large sign cleanup no action? Does that mean that it just hasn't taken place, or that it's being taken off the?
It means I have not done anything further to progress the project, and I'm kind of stopping everything to make sure that I'm on the same page as the rest of the board if it's something that we want to continue to try to accomplish, whether it's this year or we push it off a year or whatever, but just wanting to know,
By
is
next
this
meeting,
something?
You want us to go through and say whether we should take action to do those things, or?
Yep,
Table it or-
yep.
Table.
Does that sound okay? Is that,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that
Okay.
feedback is relevant.
okay,
And we would go from this list, not the previous ones.
correct.
What previous?
Okay.
Well, we were given a very
Oh,
detailed
that's
list
what
at the
you were
beginning of
talking-
the year, and then we
That's
were given
before,
this
yeah.
one that had all kinds of
Yep, okay.
stuff about what was gonna take place.
Okay, also to add to this list is the signage discussion around Cooper Park and the fauna flora type of,
Yep, and that's actually on our agenda
Oh,
tonight,
okay.
so.
but it should be on here too, on the list of,
So that would go with, where the second one down, dredge pond plus tree question spray.
okay, there it is.
It's kind of replacing that
Okay.
in a sense.
okay,
But yeah, we will talk about that.
good. Okay. Are there any other questions regarding the project list? No? Then moving on to Robert Morris beach closures, is the next topic.
So some of this is coming from me, some of it is also coming from Judy. She had asked to kind of take a look at, well, I'll let you speak
No,
since I kind of
I
messed.
had just emailed Katie and said it would be interesting to see how much the geese problem has affected our bottom line. And if we've had, what the loss of revenue. I was just anticipating her to say, last year for the months of June and July, we had this much revenue and it's dropped or it hasn't dropped or whatever. And I thought perhaps there was extra staff costs because of, the constant cleanup, but she said they really didn't bring in any other people. But anyway, she put together some stuff that wasn't.
I apologize, I did misunderstand what was being asked, so I can kind of meet you halfway with what I've provided you. I did look up earlier today for, if you're looking at kind of the sheet here, so fully staffed is 30 hours, so if anything, we cut staff hours, we didn't add staff hours, so we can feel hopefully a little good about that. For entrance fees for this year, for the 1st and the 2nd of July, it was around $80 and $91. Last year, it was actually lower at $45 and $65. Where the big chunk is, I just did the bulk for the 3 weeks. For this year, between July 14th and August 4th, we made a little under $700 in just talking about entrance fees. And last year, for the same time period for entrance fees, it was a little over $1,700. So obviously the beach is closed, not as many people are gonna come. If you look in the director's report, I think it's interesting that we've actually had more pavilion rentals at both parks. There were a couple of people who wanted to cancel because the beach was closed, but for the most part, people kept their reservations. So I think that's a positive thing.
Are we gonna have to adjust our budget at all, I guess, with less revenue or anything, or is that not gonna?
I'm not really sure. I would ask if Brett had any thoughts on that. I know it's almost $1,000 difference. In the grand scheme of things, is $1,000.
No, that's just entrance, right? That's not concessions, loss of revenue for concessions.
We did not open the concession stand when the beach was closed, so we weren't buying things. We were taking from Robert Morris to Winky, so things weren't expired. We were using it at the different facility. I don't have a comparison for the whole year, and usually I do that, I think, in November, so I think it'll be interesting to see then what did this 3-week plus kind of do to us
Basically, it might
overall.
not have even been much more than $1,000.
That will be the hope, yeah.
Okay, well, that's not too bad.
But again, with pavilion rentals being up, that's kind of significant. It seems like annual sales have been up too, so we might kind of come off okay.
Well, that's good, that's good. I was afraid we were gonna take a lot bigger hit than that.
Sure.
But from the geese.
Yes. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking.
If you look at my email, it just
Oh, no, I'm,
clearly says loss of revenue, not anything about what chores were being done or anything like that.
sure, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's no big deal. No, big deal.
So then, kind of the second part to this agenda item, I did ask the county health department about sourcing the water and trying to get a handle on why are our E. coli levels high. So the county was telling me that they're able to do a test, which I believe they've actually done at the beach before, where they go out on our boat and they would take samples from a couple parts in the water. And from what I'm gathering, is trying to decide, is it our beach that's contaminating, or is it like the whole lake as a whole that has a contamination? And they were saying that more than likely it is coming from the beach and not the whole lake, but we can get that test done. And I have kind of gone forward and said that I would like to schedule it when they can, and they had to get back to me. So that's kind of in the progress, if that's okay with everyone else to do. I don't think it costs anything. I don't think it cost anything to have that extra test done. The second part was I was trying to get a source test done, and the county was saying that they don't source test, but Eagle will source test. So they kind of put me in contact with them, and that's what the packet, the letter is. This is what they were telling me. This one is a little more in depth. It has a cost that can be, it says anywhere from $50 to $300, and it can take some time. So this is where I haven't gotten back to them yet. I wanted to kind of bring it to the board and see if it's something that you want me to pursue to try to figure out, are we sure that it's the geese, you know, or is it, yeah, so.
It would give us definitive data, information, human or geese or whatever. And, I mean, that might be good for, just to have that, to know. I know that there are septic systems around the lake, so that may be an issue, or it might just be coming from, you know, beach use. Do they specifically focus just on geese? Do they
Like with the
look
source
at
test?
deer or?
I mean, the report said something about dog. It said
Yep.
Oh, okay.
human, dog, or geese.
Okay, so we could,
The way I took it, or hope, is they're gonna tell us what it's coming from. So it's not that they're just testing to see if it's geese or just testing to see if it's a septic tank, but they will tell us the source of why our levels are high.
Is it possible it could even be multiple sources? I mean, or is it usually just one?
That,
it's whatever the numbers show.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not familiar with whether.
that's not my thing either.
Can I get an understanding? What are we trying to identify here?
So with,
Problem, the return on investment, the return on,
No, sometimes if you look online, it'll talk about different beaches.
excuse me, Judy,
Area.
could you turn your microphone on?
yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then it'll say, beaches closed due to high levels
Yeah.
of E. coli
Yes.
because of wildlife.
Yes, and they
Or
test
runoff or
Yep.
something. And so I had asked Katie if we had ever had that done, that we knew for sure.
where it's coming from.
Where it's coming.
Because I was always told the geese.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we,
Plus with the heat and how the wind is or not, all those combined elements is why this
I
happens.
had a couple people ask me,
And rain, yeah.
you know, if there could be contamination from septic tanks or something.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know, you know, I don't know. And I said, I don't, so I just asked Katie if we had ever had that
Yeah.
done where we knew for sure, then you could definitely publish and say, closed due to contamination from wildlife or something. I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah.
just asked her if that was something that we'd ever have done, and
So then it's a question of, you know, how much it costs. of course.
How much it costs, and it did sound like if we wait like a year, potentially there would be grants, I think, through them that they would pay for it. But if it's something that we want done right now, we want to know the answer, then it would be that 50 to 300. I'm not sure though how long it would take us to get on that schedule and get those results. So it could still be a lengthy process. Maybe we won't know for a year. I just wanted to kind of bring it to you first before I figured out.
it seems like it would make sense to have the testing done while you're closed, you know, that it's high enough, or doesn't that matter? I don't know. I mean, it seems like that would be the time to test when you know the levels are high, but. you know, since we're so close to the end of the season anyway. I don't know.
Well, it's always good to know where it's coming from.
I don't know if you're going to be able to figure that out.
Well, if it's, you know, for example, dog feces, that would tell us something. We don't allow dogs, except for service dogs, on,
Yeah, no, I
in the area, but then it could be, you know, something that we could notify people who live on the lake and so on of an issue if they have dogs,
It
or
would
it
also
could be,
probably be helpful for the people on the lake to know if it's the whole lake that's,
yeah,
or if it's just our beach.
well, this is true, but I think more information is better than not enough, because it just is. Well, that's how I feel about it. I don't know if the rest of the board concurs. But if it takes, I mean, certainly if they will do this service for us, yeah, but it takes a year to get on the list or what have you, I would say, why not? you
Sure,
know?
and I say a year, I'm just not sure what goes from here, but if this sounds like a good idea, I can start asking the questions and figure it out. If it's not something that we want to do, then there's nothing to do. So I guess if you want to vote on whether or not you want me to pursue getting a test from Eagle.
Okay, is there a motion that we test through
That's
Eagle?
so the one for Eagle, that's the one with the cost, is that what you're?
Correct, I'm already trying to schedule the one with the county, and
Okay.
it sounds like that'll happen in the next couple of weeks.
Sure, okay. Just wanted to be clear which one we were voting on.
Sure.
Cool.
But there again, would they test when there was, you know, only when the contamination is high? Or would they, because I mean,
Well, they may get a disparity in the numbers too, which would be indicative of something. It may not be over the limit, but it might show you you know, a concentration in a given area, which would,
Patrick, do you know anything about how that works?
I don't. I didn't know that they, sorry, I didn't know that they actually did this. This is kind of interesting.
I mean, do you think it would be helpful to know, or?
Yeah, definitely more information is always helpful, this type of topic, but I'm noticing that there's a delayed option. If you collect the 3 samples and freeze them, you can use those the following year during the grant funding to cover the cost, so yeah, you might.
I mean, probably it is the
Find out.
geese, but
I would think so, but
you'd hate to spend a lot of money on stuff for geese to get rid of geese if it turned out it really wasn't the geese.
right, yep. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I did not know they did this.
okay, is there a motion that we test?
I will move to have the park director pursue the necessary testing to identify the source of E. coli, which is causing beach closures at Robert Morris Park.
Is there a dollar amount that she can exceed?
What did they say it should be?
This is saying 50 to 300, not to slow this down, but it could be I figure out, yes, we would like to do this, can you please give me a quote on how much it would cost, and then hopefully bring it back to this next meeting, and then we can
Okay.
sign it and go.
So
So-
we'll just
Or not?
make the motion that you're gonna pursue it and then come back with a final cost.
Sure.
Or final
Okay.
information.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, none opposed, motion passed. Okay, this brings us to Neal Street Park Development. And would you like to comment?
Yep. So it's coming along really nicely. I made a post on Facebook a few days ago to kind of update the community. We were getting a lot of questions about the progress and if the pickleball courts were open and whatnot. They are pretty much done, but I believe the courts still need to cure, so we do have them locked for the moment. The vault restroom has been put in. Some of the stuff has already been updated, but the path is there, the parking lot is paved and is there. We're doing the playground build on the 20th through the 22nd, which we need all the help we can get for that. So I think the final things we're really waiting on are building the playground, and then I'm not sure if they put the seed down for grass today or not, and then just any restoration that needs to take place. I anticipate that we should be able to have like a ribbon cutting ceremony, have it open to the public by early September. I didn't know if or how it really works legal, as us all being together in the same spot, but if we wanted to have a ribbon cutting ceremony at a date that would work for all or most of the board, so that you could be there and we could actually cut our little ribbon and announce what name we've named our little park baby, and officially opened it. Not that the park could be open before we do the ribbon cutting ceremony, but if that was something that you wanted to do to try to get it on our calendar now. And then everyone should have a list of all the park names that are options to name it.
Are there going to be any benches installed at the park or not?
So looking at that, we have, I think Joe said like 2 or 3 picnic tables in storage that we can put out there. As far as everything else, we do have to buy. So I didn't know if that was something that I needed to get approved, or if we know we need garbage cans and benches and that sort of thing. So I would just make a purchase knowing that we have it in the budget. It's all very expensive. Trash cans are a little under $500. A table is a little under $1,000. The ADA table, which I would recommend at least 2 picnic tables and then just 1 ADA picnic table, and that one's just a little more expensive. And then a bench is relatively expensive. But since we are moving forward with a new park and putting in a new bench, I would hope that the concrete pad is large enough that we can do that companion bench seating along with it. And I believe there's 3 pads along the walking path right now that had an idea to put a bench there. Whether or not we need 3 is.
I guess
Yeah.
I was thinking more by the pickleball courts, because when people are waiting to play.
That's where at least in the drawing, that was the thought where the picnic tables would go. There'd be one in front of each of the courts.
Okay.
And then I think there's like one on the far side of the playground, and then benches along the path, and there might be another bench thrown in there too.
I just think those are kind of important, especially if you're going to bring your kids to play on the playground for an hour. I don't know if the parents are going to want to stand there in the hot sun.
Oh, no, I definitely agree that we need them. It was just when is the time for me to buy them?
Do we
Same
have-
thing with
Go ahead.
the pickleball sign.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize. It's just been slow moving, trying to get things done. But that is something that we'd like to do. For a little while, it was, do we want to spend all this money on signage and some of these things if the park isn't going to be heavily used this year? As far as the Facebook posts, and I think the calls that the main office is getting is, yes, it is going to be heavily used at the beginning. So again, I wasn't quite sure, can I just buy the picnic tables and these things if it's in the budget, or do I need to ask? I didn't know how that.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Do we have money in the budget available, and that was its purpose or intended purpose?
I don't believe there's any that had been specifically set aside that this would be the money that would be used for Neal Street furniture, I'll call it. But I think it's important to find money in there, and there's flexibility in the budget to be able to find enough to get us by for a little while. If then next year's budget, we want to make sure that we have X amount set aside so we can add in however many more, would be the way I would do it.
Yeah, I think we need seating, yeah, for sure, both with parents and also people that are attending, and then recreationally, if someone wants to sit down, have a meal potentially or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pickleball paddle holders.
That one's been very tricky for me to understand, because I saw that it was something that was needed. I found one on one website, and now that website is down and closed, and it's acting like it never existed, and I can't find another vendor that sells this thing. So, yeah.
What is a pickleball holder?
Well,
Judy, if you would turn your microphone on.
Thanks. What is a pickleball holder exactly?
well, I mean, if couple.
It holds your place in line.
Yeah, it holds
So you
your
can
place
sit
in
down
line.
and have your,
Usually there's open play at pickleball, and when you arrive, you put your paddle in, and then it goes in by, usually there's 4 people. I mean, there's kind
So
of
it
a.
sets the
Yeah,
order.
and so
Okay.
then you usually have your name on the paddle, and then if you're doing something else, like maybe you like to walk while you're not playing or something, then they will call out and say, George, you're up next, and then George knows it's his time to go in. Now, if people, I mean, that's when you have like open play at Richland and Kindleberger, and that's how there's a whole pickleball
Process.
process. But now, if it doesn't get used for that, if it just happens to be that, 4 people are gonna say, hey, let's go up there and play pickleball, but if it's gonna be used for open play where you get 15 people that show up, then there's this protocol for putting your paddles in to know who's up next.
it's just how much do we want to control and organize this thing? I think it's a valuable thing to have in place, but it's also about $500. So I want to make sure, the one that I found that I can't find anymore. But I think it's important to make sure that this thing is going to be used before we
Well,
buy
then
it.
let's wait and see if anybody turns out.
And I do think people are going to turn out. I'm just hesitant. When I saw that it was that much money, I was just kind of hesitant to are people going to be able to figure out how to play pickleball socially, or do we really need to have this piece of equipment to let people be nice to each other?
What would be our projected cost? What would be our projected cost then for this equipment, or not the equipment, but for
The benches and whatnot, I
benches
think
and
it's going to
seating?
be around $5,000 to get all the tables and trash cans and benches at the end of it.
Brett, is there any room in that budget specifically for that project? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, if you were to use the line supplies and equipment for facilities, there's about $10,000 available in that line currently.
Does she need input on what color and what assortment she purchases?
She doesn't.
I was gonna go with the same ones that we have at Merrill, the blue, just for kind of help with replacement parts or switching back and forth, that is just kind of consistent, and we'll just keep Robert Morris's that pretty green, if that's okay with everybody. If we like that
Yeah.
idea.
I mean, the courts are blue, aren't they?
Yes,
So
they
that
are.
they kind
So
of
it's kind of that,
yeah.
I think it's in Comstock Center, the park still is, so kind of going with that blue, and we're all blue, and
Yeah, I'll just mention, that we talked about it earlier today about how we were gonna run, I guess, quote unquote, the pickleball courts. And we kind of landed on, because there's not much time left in the season, let's just see how much it's used, and then we'll kind of have an idea of
that-
who we need.
We talked about, who is we?
Just Katie and I.
Oh,
Just off the cuff, we kind of have to decide, are we leaving this thing unlocked? Are we gonna have, you're gonna have to come and rent it? But it seems easier for now just to leave it open and let the players kind of control how it sounds like there's a protocol in place for pickleball players and they can handle it themselves without our input for now. But if it gets out of hand, I guess we'll have to do something.
Also, for now, is it possible to get a few benches? Or is this something that has to be done en masse for the whole park as far as purchasing?
it's
power?
cheaper when you buy more together.
Together,
My thought would be that I would be ordering this in the next week or so. Most of the stuff will be here within a few days. It's not a long hold shipping. But just, maybe I shouldn't be, but just kind of hesitant to where it's a brand new park. Do we need to buy all of the picnic tables, all of the benches, all of this stuff right off the bat? Or kind of goes into the camera situation as well. It's looking like, from the quotes that I've gotten so far, which I haven't gotten all of them, but it can be anywhere from $5,000 to us trying to just work with a trail cam and putting that up, and it could just be a couple $100s. Do we want to spend a bunch of money that in the past we know that, yes, we have cameras up, but we don't necessarily get good enough footage to be able to do anything with it? Or maybe this park will be just fine and it doesn't cause a bunch of issues. Do we wait to see, or do we spend all that money up front? Just something to think about.
Okay, so after the playground build, and the ribbon cutting, which would be fairly soon this season, I would think, then we need to monitor how many people are attending and how the word is spreading, and just kind of see what the demand is. And then based on that, if we need to get this other equipment in, you say it doesn't take long to get benches and tables in. So if it's something that's relatively fast, then it should be an issue. And then we can also monitor what kind of security issues might come up.
I wouldn't think it'd be too far off of an ask, like you're going to go play something in a park. Maybe we recommend bringing like a lawn chair. We do need to let people know that there's no water up at that park, so they do need to make sure that they're bringing something to drink, like little housekeeping things like that. So I think we do need to eventually provide all these things, but is it something that we need to do right now? And I don't have that answer.
I would like it to be added to our list of things to do, that we provide the board a plan of attack for how we would manage that park, with the concerns of security as well, and monitoring. I'm not sure how we're going to do that without allocating resources. So, but if we can answer those questions and work together to at least come up with a substantial plan about how the park is supposed to be operating on our list of things to do, so that we have a deadline for it and a time frame.
So I have talked to Joe. He thinks that he can manage adding another park for trash cleanup. So he does that 3 days a week. He doesn't anticipate one more park being an issue for him there. As far as like unlocking and locking things on a daily, that I don't know how we would do at this point in the season. Potentially next year, given our May through September, between all of our not full-time staff, but our full force of staff, I think that could be accomplished. I guess it was kind of missed in some of the planning. We had thought that the bathroom that we ordered had an automatic timer lock, and it was installed and it does not have that kind of lock. So it's also looking at making sure that we have something like that, so it's not having to have a person going there and locking and unlocking every day. So it is kind of a challenge with it being a park that's not necessarily needing to be staffed all day long, but it does need some attention 7 days a week.
So we have an initial plan now as it opens, and then from there, I think we need some long-term planning, right?
Yep, I kind of see it operating more like Merrill, where it's kind of open that 7 days a week. There's staff that come in twice a day to kind of help us out, but it's not fully staffed. Even with pavilion rentals, those could probably go a little bit smoother, but they're managed right now with a sign saying that it's reserved for the day.
Yeah, in the short term, we would want to get a handle on how many people are coming and using it too. So that requires frequent visits, I guess, or a way to count that.
Are you, I didn't anticipate that. Are you thinking, do we need somebody there 7 days a week, like hourly checks? What would be good information for you to have?
Or like a motion detector counter, when you pass through the gate or through the opening, that it counts.
Okay.
I don't know, but I mean, if we're gonna build our plans on seeing how many people respond to this park and use it, we're gonna have to find out what that is for taking action for more resources. So.
I think some of that can be taken care of, not all of it, but like through our regular business. And what I mean by that is when the ordinance officer goes out, he can make a pass through the cemetery and just to see if anybody's there or not, and if there are, how many people are there, that sort of thing. It wouldn't give you the full picture, but if he hit it a couple times a day, he can see how many people are there. Maybe it's the same people still there, or maybe it's a new group of people, I don't know. But some of it can be taken care of with what we already do.
Okay.
So I think next is maybe looking at the names for the park and coming up with if there's a date that we can try to figure out where we'd want to have some sort of ribbon cutting ceremony.
Well, I think we need a motion for the approval for her to purchase the furniture and whatnot. Right?
Yes, but we also, as I understand it, want to purchase it all at once, and we also want to know how many people start attending early and when it's really needed. So we really don't know the timeline, but,
I think we need to open the park with the furniture. We need something there.
I agree. I guess my question was more so, yes, I'm going to be buying these things. A second thought, oh, do I need approval before I do it? So that's why I've hauled off
Okay.
on doing it.
okay. Okay, is there a motion for Katie to pursue purchase of the required furniture for Neal Street Park?
I would move for that motion that she's allowed to purchase the equipment within the guidelines that we've specified of the $5,000 for benches, picnic tables, use of ones that are in our inventory, as well as a seating bench and trash cans, right?
Okay, and not to exceed,
Our $5,000, which she's allowed to do with or without our approval.
okay? Any objections? Okay, none. Motion passed. Okay. And then we go on to looking at all the names for the park and figuring out how we figure this out and choose possibilities, I guess. I just looked at a name that would indicate where it was, that's familiar to the public, and what's there. So that's where my guiding things and my suggestions kind of came out of that, but
Yeah.
it's not everyone's criteria, so.
No, I took a dive into history. That was the route I took.
I like that.
Yeah. I put the 4 on there that I could think of, but it really still doesn't capture anyone from the Parks Board or which the minutes are hard to find for the old Parks meetings from back. I found some from back in the 70s, but further back I couldn't find. I'm still looking, but I'd like to find out who was mostly responsible for purchasing the land for the parks. I think from the school maybe. I think that would be a good idea. I don't know who that is yet. I'm still looking. But the ones on there, obviously, Ralph Sant was the first one that was just off the top of my head. He was on the township board for a while. And then I did some research on Notley Park and the couple that owned it. They didn't have anything to do with it becoming a park. It was a park after they sold the property, but that's who the plat was named after. And then I talked to Tim Hudson, and he said Mr. Al Baker donated the land for the road to be built between Shields and 26th to aid in those school children getting to the school without having to walk around across the railroad tracks. And then just as a side, he said he was a little half-jokingly upset that the road wasn't named for him, but for Clarence Neal, who was the supervisor at the time. And then I added Clarence Neal on there too, because he's the namesake of the road. And he was just the township supervisor when they built the road, not when they acquired the park. So that was what I found in my quick research, but I'm still looking, unless we decide something else. The other 2 names I thought of later were Hy Dunfield, who was on the Parks Board he was the chair for a minute, but he was also on the Parks Board in the 70s. Hiram is his name, but he went by Hy Dunfield. And I just knew him because he was in the fire department with my grandpa. And then the only other person I could think of without research was Scott Fisher, he lives in my neighborhood, but he was the park manager there for about 15 years, from 80 to 95 or so. And then just now I thought of Linda Law, who was on the board for a while, but that's a more recent. My goal is to try to find somebody who was around when the park was acquired.
Yeah.
So that's where I went. I went back in time.
Good research.
Well, any other comments on what went into your selections or options?
So Brett, all yours are not on there. The extra ones that you're talking about, Fisher and the, okay. These are the
Sorry,
ones
no.
that you,
I thought of those after I sent them to
Gotcha.
Katie. Yeah, because I was looking, like I said, I was looking through Parks minutes, and that was as far, I think 1972 was all we had on file here. I know they're somewhere, maybe at Western Michigan Library. I can try to find them if that's what we want to go for. That's going to take a little more work than what we have here in the township.
I like the formality of pulling in some heritage. I also like the idea of, from a marketing standpoint, you know, a fun description of paddle and park or something along those lines. I think combining the two can be done if played out appropriately. How we get there is going to be the gray area. So,
That was my next question. There's a lot of choices on here. Do we have all the board members put their top 5 and then rank them that way? Or do we get the public involved? Or do we just, somebody make a motion and go with what that is? I don't know what that process looks like.
Yeah,
I've never named a park before.
I think, you know, there's, getting this list a little bit late too, you know, you really need to think about it. But I think as a proposal, we should like come up with 5 of them off of here, or there may be another one that comes in, and submit those into Katie and from each of us and see which ones show up twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then
yeah, I think
narrow
that's
it down
kind of like a blind vote.
like a blind vote.
I think that starts at, I wouldn't be against involving more, but sometimes that creates just a bigger mess. I think we're more than capable of determining what the name of the park would be, but I'm always open to share that as well. But at some point, we just actually have to do it. So, so Brett, if it's possible, you add those additional ones. And you didn't have any input?
I did not.
Sheesh.
I didn't have any of the history knowledge
Yeah, no,
or
I know.
anything, so.
Yeah. And Judy, what do we know about Van Bruggen?
Well, Joe Van Bruggen was the longtime supervisor here.
Judy, can you turn your microphone on? I just.
We are not happy with a park named after some person that doesn't mean anything to anybody who's alive and who's from out of town and doesn't know where they're going or what they're looking for. Neal Street Park, playground, pickleball, blah, blah, blah. Everybody will know what that means. They'll know what they're gonna get when they get there, and from a marketing standpoint, it's perfect.
It's perfect, Neal Street. It's Neal Street.
Keep it simple.
And it's like we're always naming after people nobody really cares about. I mean, honestly, from a big, we can all admire Joe Van
Well, the point is that we'll have time for this discussion later. It's not at this point that it's appropriate, but the Neal Street Avenue was named after Clarence Neal. So that was already named after a person.
That's fine, we
So-
all know Neal Street. I mean, it's the community, and I'm just speaking, I'm a 3rd generation Comstock. I live right there. It's like,
Okay.
and it's like, if nothing else, every other park's named after some guy. Can't we name it after some woman? You know, just mix it up, make it fun.
Well, all of the parks, as far as I know, either are named after a person like Merrill
Yeah.
Park, Pier Park, Cooper Park, or they're named after the location that they're in. And all of our literature, everything we have about that already says Neal Street Park, because it is a park. It was already, I mean, we would be changing the name from what it was originally, which was, I think it was really referred to as the Neal Street Ball Diamonds or something, but
Well, we have Celery Street Park,
yeah, that's what I mean. It's
We
either,
have
it's either a
Green-
Fleetwood is named after the location,
Green Meadow. on
Green
the-
Meadows after the, so it's either a person's
Fleetwood,
name
yeah.
or it's
Yeah.
a location. And since, you know, like you were saying, many of these names are meaningless to most people. Of course, I mean, I don't know when they named Merrill Park, if people were alive who knew who Thomas Merrill I don't know. But I tend to agree that just keeping it Neal Street Park or
Okay.
works for me.
Well, what I think we should do is send our 5 ideas to Katie by this Friday, and then we'll see what we come up with, if there are crossovers or things that are the same. And then, you know, thank you for your input. You know, other people might have ideas too. But, you know, we all have a little different criteria that we're going off of, but let's see what we come up with.
I mean, if it's somebody who's long since gone, there's probably no prejudicial feelings about that person, but if it's somebody current, you know, you pick somebody who's still living, and, you know, like anyway, you know, there'd be somebody that would say, well, I never cared for that person, or I don't know. I just think it would get very complicated to pick a name of somebody who's still currently around, who maybe some people don't have fond thoughts about, and I think Neal Street works, but.
So is it okay? Has everyone agreed to send
Yeah, I think we need
a list of 5
move the process
names
along.
to Katie, and we'll see what we come up with, and then go from there.
Come on.
By Friday, okay, of this week.
Let's see.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a date that maybe in September, I would say, that you would want to try to do a ribbon cutting ceremony?
And you are assuming there are no delays or setbacks or anything between?
Or we could do early October. I would think it would still be kind of nice. It's not going to be anything huge. We don't have the parking for anything huge, but just ribbon cutting, maybe we, you know, put out a press release, and if any news outlets want to come, I think the board, depending on who else we think we should invite. But yes, the park can be open before we do something like this. And again, it's just an option if this is something you would like to do. I don't think it has to be a Saturday or Sunday. I think it could be during the week. Again, I don't think it's necessarily for public to attend. They're welcome to attend, but it's not like a park party. It's just a formal unveiling.
Yes, we had done this out here for the upgrade on Merrill Park, and there was such a ceremony, and then there was also a booth set up with information and so on about the park, so we could.
I think that would be nice.
About all the parks, actually, so we could do that kind of thing. It would be good to.
Do you want to turn your microphone?
Oh, sorry. It would be good to also put the event in the Comstock Communicator as well as online if we.
Well, again, I'm a little worried about, I'm not saying that people can't come, but there's very limited parking there, so I just don't know what to do if everybody wants to come. Or maybe it's something I shouldn't be worried about, but.
There is parking over by the cemetery area, right? The gravel parking lot, maybe?
Yes, I wouldn't think that we'd be able to get more than 50 people would be able to attend. But I guess people find where they want to park if they want to come too, so.
So you're proposing sometime in early October?
If October seems more comfortable for people.
Okay, and what would be a good day of the week?
That's, I think it'd be harder
Like
for
Saturday?
you to arrange your schedules as opposed to me giving you a date. I think it might work. I don't want to put something on your calendar, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If there's a date that someone else's you would like to propose, I will figure it out.
So I'm assuming evenings are better, especially for you both?
Yep.
What's, yeah. So like the time we normally have a meeting would be good, 6 o'clock?
But I would,
Yeah. I mean,
welcome the opportunity, like closer to the end of the day, like 4-ish.
Okay, yeah. Well, plus, yeah, it might be,
Getting
that time of year it'd be a little chilly. So maybe, well, not this year. Yeah,
So 10/10 is a good start. Potentially, if you need a date, I'll throw that out. Anyone else wants to chime in?
Okay, what day of the week is that?
It's a Friday.
Friday, okay.
I like it
Yeah.
10:10, should we, oh, we can't do it at 10:10.
10? That's like a lucky number, isn't it?
So tentatively, we will schedule a ribbon cutting ceremony for October 10th at, sorry, I missed the time,
4 p.m.?
4 p.m.
depending on if it's approved, I might not be in the state that day.
Well,
But,
yeah, we can.
don't, yeah.
but if we need to change it now,
okay. So there's a conference that week, that's all. But so actually, any day that week is bad for me,
okay.
'cause I'll be in North Carolina.
So then do we want to propose a different date right now, or?
I mean, I don't know what works for everybody else, but a week earlier would work, October 3rd. I don't know if it's too early.
You're gonna
With what you're
hate me,
thinking?
that's I have something that weekend.
Okay, that's why we're talking about it now, right? Does it have to be a Friday? Or are you just thinking of Friday because it's the end of the week? And
Yeah,
okay, heading into the weekend.
17.
That one's good with
Sure,
me. Anybody
tentative,
else?
yes,
Tentative. That gives us enough time to complete.
Yeah, it'll be prettier too with the,
yeah,
hopefully with the foliage.
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay.
okay. I think we can move on to the next item. Monthly park discussion, Cooper Park.
All right, so monthly park topic, I chose Cooper Park this month. I can't remember, honestly, and I apologize, in the past, if you had seen the letter from the DNR. Did this look familiar to people? That was included in the packet? Okay. So back when Danielle was the director, it had come up, I believe, that really trying to get a handle on Cooper Park with the lily pads, and that's been a thing for years, as I understand it. I don't remember how it came about, but there was a group of, we were calling them experts from like the DNR, I believe the Audubon Society, and a couple other big players came to a meeting here, and we discussed Cooper Pond. It was leading up to our master plan and trying to make sure that we got things into the master plan that made sense for the purpose of maybe grants down the line. Since then, we had gotten this letter from the DNR, and tonight specifically, if you would look at pages 20 and 21, that's where it mostly talks about kind of the options that the DNR is proposing. And what I would like to do with it based on their recommendations. So to just kind of call out a couple of things, this is on page 20 towards the bottom. It was saying that vegetation management is recommended. It could be reduced through chemical treatment, but it would likely lead to algae blooms as the ponds and are nutrient rich, and treating vegetation will free up nutrients for algae. Vegetation treatment is expensive and requires continued treatment to be effective. Treatments generally target aquatic invasive species which do not appear to be prevalent in Cooper Pond. So what I get from that is it's an option, but it's not really a good option. The next paragraph talks about dredging, and same sort of thing. It's expensive. It may or may not work. We may or may not be able to do it from permitting. So again, I think that's not something that we want to pursue. Another thing they call out on page 21 is removing the dam, and I've gotten mixed reviews on whether or not that is a good idea or a bad idea. So if that ever happens, we're just putting that way over there. We're not going to talk about that right now. So then on 21, it's listed as management recommendations, and there's 3 numbered points for that. So reading through that, I think our best option and something that we can do right now is contracting the Kalamazoo Nature Center, and they will do a consultation for $200 to help us call out what wildlife is at the park, and as a step one, to try to educate the community on why we're not trying to remove the lily pads, and creating Cooper as more of a programming and a standpoint of a nature education based. I think it's a really good property to do something like that, and it's not something that we do at any of our other parks. Throughout this letter, it also calls out trying to do things to increase being able to fish, but again, it kind of then reverts back to, but that you could try all these things, but it's probably not gonna happen anyway. So I think also potentially, I don't mean to say the cheapest in a bad way, but in a responsible way, keeping it the way it is the more financially responsible, and just trying to support it at the way it naturally is, as opposed to trying to change it. I have met with a couple of ladies who are experts in their own right, and so just kind of say that this isn't really just coming from me. I have tried to put some research into this, and I think a best step would be to consult with the Nature Center, get a handle on that, and start to put up signage about that we're not ignoring this park, because this is another issue that I get a fair amount of calls on. And also having a, on our website, also verbiage there to explain why we actually want the lily pads there, what are some things that we're trying to do, and I think I'm repeating myself a little bit, but also calling out walk along here and you'll find this beautiful flower. Spend some time here and you might be able to see this pretty bird, and just things like that. I know another big thing is, why aren't we maybe cleaning up like a dead tree, and through a lot of education, knowing that we might not want to clean up that dead tree because it provides habitat and all these other things for certain things. So long story short, this is the letter that we received. This is the feedback that we've gotten, and I think step one is to ask the Nature Center to help us out a little bit for just $200, which I don't think is very much in the scheme of things, and try to move this along to kind of help the public especially know that we're not just ignoring Cooper Pond, and we're trying to do something with it and take care of it.
I also, looking at management recommendations, number one, where it's improved stream connectivity and fish passage in Comstock Creek. And looking at the map, if I'm interpreting it correctly, you know, that goes coming out of Campbell Lake all the way down through, and again, pointing out that a tree's down over a culvert that's blocking, you know, the water flow. That it does tie into McLinden, where there are, you know, places that we could clear to help the flow.
Sure. So,
or as it was originally, you know, set up to flow. And there could be other areas downstream that, you know, have sediment collections and so on. So is the Nature Center going to take that step as well, or are they mostly just looking at
no,
species?
they're just going, as far as I'm aware, they're just going to look at Cooper Pond. I think there's multi-levels that we can work with at Cooper Pond. I think the initial, what I see as most important is trying to educate the public and programming it a little bit to help them understand and teach that we're trying to get the pond back to a healthy state. Looking at the pond, you might think it looks unhealthy, but it actually potentially is healthy, and these are the things about it that is making it a good place to be. From there's a lot of other things that I think we can do, but my step one, at the bare minimum, is to try to get some signage out there, both in the park and on the website, to kind of help understand what's going on there.
Okay. Another thing that was going on was the groundwater survey was taking place through the whole area, through helicopters and radar and so on. And all of that follows as well over Campbell Lake and down through the watershed. It would be really interesting to see what those results show as well, and how the surface Comstock Creek might be affected, because it flows, you know, right into this area as well. So maybe that's another piece of the puzzle that would show us what's going on and if there are any issues with it. Sure. So if we could request that.
Yeah, I can look into that.
Okay. All right.
So I don't, this was another thing where I didn't know if I needed approval to ask the Nature Center to come out and take a look at it, or if it was something that I could just go ahead and do. But either way, ask that, I would like to do that.
Yeah, it's only $200, right?
Yes.
So I think that's well below your or 5,000, so.
Sure, okay.
Okay. Okay. The next topic is Robert Morris ADA project. Which we've talked about a little bit, but
Yep, I'm just trying to catch up to my notes here. Okay, so a few of us had met out at the park, I believe it was a couple weeks ago. We chose a new location for where the sway bench would go. We were looking mostly at the root system of the trees and making sure that we weren't damaging anything there, and trying to be conscious of creating too long of a path into green space, as well as like shadiness and sun. So for a couple of us that weren't there, we're looking, if you're looking at the beach, it's going to be just to the, up on the hill, but on the left. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, facing the beach from the water or from the parking lot?
It'll face the water.
No, I mean, if I was facing
You're facing the beach.
beach from the parking lot, it's to the left.
So as you're like walking basically to the beach, before you get to the beach, it'll be on your right.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes. So that is,
okay, yes.
yeah. North, south, east, west, you know. So because looking at a proposal, there are two things on here. So for the sway bench, concrete pad and path to get to it is the $4,600. And then remember, the sway bench itself costs a little over $3,000, and then our grant is for $2,400. So if we moved ahead with this project, the whole cost should be $5,467.32. Shipping creates the 32 cents. So that's kind of the first piece that I would like you to vote on tonight, if we want to move ahead with putting in the sway bench with the ADA components to it.
Is there a motion
So that's,
to approve?
sorry. That's just, so on this quote, that's the 4675 is for that, plus the sway bench itself,
Correct.
which is, I mean, we have the grant, but we still have to approve the full amount.
So the full amount is $7,867.32.
Gotcha. So I think, so whoever makes the motion should say that full amount, because we still have to, that still has to come out of our expenditure line, even though we're getting a grant. So we still have to approve the full amount for expense. 7867.32 for the sway bench, the actual sway bench and the work and the shipping.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it won't actually cost that because we get the grant, but because of the way fund accounting works, we have to approve the full amount.
What's the timing on the grant then, like completed by?
It has to be completed by, I think it was fall of next year,
Oh,
but I
that
have
was
to
11.
cash this check
By
in the next few
October.
weeks, otherwise it'll expire.
I'll make the motion to approve the sway bench and concrete and everything for $7,867.32.
Thank you.
Are there any objections? None? Noted, and the motion passed.
Okay, so then the second part to this would be if you wanted to add in the concrete pads around the grill to continue with kind of our ADA upgrades. So to do both pavilions, grills, it would be that $2,100.
I'll make a motion to approve that $2,100 for the ADA pads around the grills.
Any objections? None, motion passed.
Thank you.
minutes of Robert Morris Park ADA is all on hold, correct?
Yep, I didn't think that that was something that you wanted to pursue any further, so I won't pursue.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that moves us on to reports and correspondence. Any correspondence? All right, then the revenue and expenditure report. Okay, the first is the revenue and expenditure report. Let's see, for July. Are there any questions or concerns? None? Okay. Then we come to the August Director's Report.
Just if you have any questions, I just would like to call out again that we have our playground build at Neal Street, August 20th through, hopefully it's just a 2-day build, but it could go as far as the 22nd for 3 days. And we do have Fall Fest on the 27th. If anybody is available for volunteering or just kind of manning our table and being a face of the park board and the parks.
I have a question about the disc golf club tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened Saturday, and it went really well. It was, the group was super nice to work with, easy to work with. They're also the ones who, I'm calling it, our disc golf course is like their home court. So, yeah, it went really well public-wise, and parking wasn't an issue.
Okay, so do you have any estimate of how many people
I do not.
were there? Okay.
I can certainly get you that for next month.
Okay. Which also reminds me, when we're thinking of tournaments, if we get to that point, in the racquetball groups that play, if they have such things,
They sure do.
to get the word out that we've got more courts. So maybe that can be included in some of their activities.
Sure, I would say I would add that to our like fee schedule, because I would anticipate that we would want them, right now it would be, you know, this is just for play. It's not clinics, it's not tournaments, anything like that, because all the fun insurance things would play into that.
Oh, I
So,
see.
I can put together what I think a reasonable price would be for renting those for tournament type play.
Okay, good. And I just want to note that good that the adult softball numbers are pretty good for this year. So congratulations on that. Okay, I also note that the season ends September 1st for Robert Morris Park. Let's see, and that is Labor Day, I believe. So,
Yep. How we've done in the past is our kind of soft closing is Labor Day, and then depending on the weather and what staff we have available, we will still rent out the pavilions and potentially staff on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on pavilion rentals and the weather. And then, again, with the weather, when we need to winterize the bathrooms. And of course, we need to close down the park with deep cleaning and putting certain things away and things like that.
and that's all I have. That's all I have. Are there any other?
I had a quick question about the email prior to last month's meeting. I didn't notice any notes, but the email about the deputy director of the supervisor was concerned or involved in us opening and closing the parks. Was there a discussion? I didn't see it on the notes. Regards to that, I just wanted to find out.
No, we did not discuss it at the meeting.
Is that something we need to discuss it at some point? 'Cause I was
Honestly, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Nothing
It
has,
wasn't clear what really transpired, so.
same, that's
Okay.
kind of what I took from it. So nothing has come to me since, and nothing has come from it since, and I think we're all on the same page. I don't really know, though, I don't really know, to be honest. But I think we're covered on the park side. I think it's just,
Were they offering to help us? Is that what I was understanding? Because I'm sure there's projects that we could use additional assistance on.
I don't think it was helping. I think it was trying to make sure that we were doing things correctly from an outsider standpoint. So talking to our staff that manages that park and the rest of kind of our staff to make sure that we're on the same page of making sure that we're clear on what needs to be happening in that park, and it coming from one person, as in me, the director, coming down from the commission, as opposed to having different information coming from somebody else, and who exactly do I listen to?
So it's resolved, we have our policies with our keys, as we always do,
As
right?
we always have, yes.
Yes, okay.
So,
Maybe they'll join us at the playground build.
that would be nice. Numbers are looking very low for that, so I'm a little worried about that. I think 2 playground builds in 1 year, 1 season was very ambitious. But we didn't really have any choice in the same matter, so.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any announcements? Okay, guess it's time to adjourn. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion passed. Thank you, everybody.